All right, let's shrink ourselves down, way down, to explore the most fundamental unit of life. We're going inside the cell, the tiny building block that makes you, well, you.
But first, I want you to think about something. What if your body wasn't just one thing? What if it was actually a bustling community of trillions of microscopic factories, all humming along in perfect sync? Because that's pretty much what a cell is, an incredible self-contained factory of life.
So, for the next few minutes, consider me your tour guide. We're going to check out the basic blueprint of the factory, meet the boss in the command center, see the protein assembly line in action, visit power and waste management, and then finish up on the factory floor. Ready? Let's go.
Okay, so every good factory needs a solid structure, right? Before we can get into what the cell does, we need to understand its layout, the walls, the gates, and the main floor where all the magic happens.
When you break it down, every animal cell is built around three main parts. You've got the cell membrane, which is basically the security gate. Then there's the cytoplasm, which you can think of as the whole factory floor. And calling all the shots from the center, that's the nucleus, the head office.
Now, the cell membrane isn't just some dumb wall. Oh no, it's a super smart barrier. It's like the toughest, most efficient security guard you've ever met. It's constantly deciding what gets in, like essentials, water, oxygen, and what gets kicked out, like toxic waste. It is the ultimate gatekeeper for this whole operation.
All right, time to go through security and meet the boss. We're heading into the command center, the brain of the whole operation, the nucleus. This is where every single decision gets made. So, what's going on in the head office? Well, first and foremost, you've got the master blueprint for the entire company, the DNA. It's got the instructions for everything the cell will ever do. From here, the nucleus directs all activities, growth, survival, making new cells, you name it. And tucked deep inside is a special little office, the nucleolus, with one critical job, building the factory's actual workers.
Which brings us to a big question. What does this factory actually make? Well, its main product line is proteins. These are the crucial building blocks for pretty much everything. And the whole process starts with those workers we just talked about.
So, meet the ribosomes. These are the tireless assembly workers on the factory floor. They get a copy of the blueprint, a little message called RNA, from the head office, and they follow its instructions to the letter, building all the proteins the cell needs to function, grow, and repair itself.
Of course, these workers aren't just floating around aimlessly. They work on a huge assembly line called the endoplasmic reticulum, or just ER for short. Now, you'll see there are two parts to it. The rough ER is called that because it's literally studded with all those ribosomes, making it the main protein production line. The smooth ER, on the other hand, has no ribosomes. It's got a different job. It's like the detox and lipid line, producing fats and breaking down toxins. So let's just trace that whole journey step by step. It all starts back in the nucleolus, where our workers, the ribosomes, are made. They head out to the rough ER to start building proteins. Then, the ER itself packages these brand new proteins into little containers and ships them off to the next department for some final touches.
And what are those little containers? They're called vesicles. Seriously, just picture a fleet of tiny transport trucks. They're basically little bubbles that wrap around materials, like our new proteins, and haul them from one part of the cell to another, making sure everything gets exactly where it needs to go.
So where are all these little trucks heading? To the Golgi body. This is the factory's main shipping department. When proteins arrive here, they get modified, sorted, and packed up for final delivery. And this is a super important step because a protein is useless if it's not folded into the perfect shape. The Golgi might add a sugar here or a fat there, getting it just right before shipping it out.
Okay, any factory, no matter how good its assembly line is, can't run without two things: power and a way to get rid of the trash. So let's check out the two crucial support services that keep this whole operation clean and energized.
First up, the big one, the mitochondria. You've probably heard it called the powerhouse of the cell, and for good reason. Just like a city's power plant, it generates all the energy needed to fuel every single thing the cell does. Without this, everything would just grind to a halt.
So how does it do it? Well, it runs a process called cellular respiration. Think of it like a tiny, super efficient engine. It takes in fuel, glucose, which is just sugar, and combines it with oxygen. Then it burns it to create these little energy packets called ATP. The exhaust from this engine? Carbon dioxide, which the cell membrane promptly kicks out.
All right, next up is the cleanup crew, the lysosome.
This thing is the cell's stomach and its recycling center all rolled into one. It's packed with powerful digestive enzymes that just dissolve waste, gobble up unwanted invaders, and even break down old, worn-out factory parts so the raw materials can be used again.
Okay, for the last leg of our tour, let's take a look at the factory floor itself, the actual environment where all this amazing work is happening. And we'll check out the warehouse where they keep all the supplies.
So all these specialized departments we've seen, the nucleus, the mitochondria, the Golgi, they have a technical name, organelles. It literally means little organs, and they're all floating around right here, in the cytoplasm. This is the factory floor. It's a thick, jelly-like substance that fills the whole cell, gives it its shape, and it's where most of the cell's chemical reactions take place.
And last but not least, every factory needs a good warehouse, right? In the cell, those are the vacuoles. They're the storage units, holding on to things like water, food, nutrients, and even waste products until it's time to deal with them. But here's a really cool difference between animal and plant cells. Animal cells, like ours, usually have a bunch of small vacuoles. You could think of them like personal storage lockers. A plant cell, though, it has one giant central vacuole. It's basically one massive warehouse, mostly for storing water, and it can take up almost the entire inside of the cell. So, after this whole tour, what's the big takeaway? It's that a cell is so much more than just a simple blob of jelly. It is a highly organized, incredibly complex factory. Every single piece we've looked at today has a critical job to do, and they all have to work together in perfect harmony to create and sustain life itself.
And that brings us to one last really important thought. This tiny factory, repeated trillions of times over, builds and maintains everything that is you. So, what do you think happens when just one of those departments goes on strike? When the power station gets sluggish or the shipping department starts making mistakes? The answer to that question, really, is the foundation of almost all of human health and disease. Pretty amazing, right?